Okay, man, we just wrapped session 5, Women in Ministry with Kristen Padilla. What are your initial thoughts on it?
Yeah. I love her story. So first of all, which was I was trying to ask her and to bring out, I so appreciate how she felt this calling to ministry, didn't really find a place for it in her current local church context, but then as she wrestled with it and came to her conclusions theologically, she didn't just throw it all out. She didn't throw out the baby with the bathwater. She didn't leave the church. The church as a whole. She kept exploring and studying and just followed God's call in that. And she didn't know her next step when she went to seminary, but she just did the next right thing. She just kept just following what she thought God was calling her to do. I think that's so inspiring, and I think it's really cool.
Definitely. I don't know a lot of people who would pursue it to that degree, to get an MDiv, do all that work without some picture of what's coming at the end of it. That speaks to her willingness to follow where she think God is calling her, and to invest in that with her time and with her money and everything that goes into something like that. So that was really encouraging for me. And yeah, it's cool. It's challenging to think through some of that stuff in terms of what are we teaching, what are we modeling. I think there's definitely some good stuff there for us to wrestle with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I felt kind of bad. It's such a broad topic, and she used the crayon illustration, which is great. There is every color of the color spectrum on this topic, and people come down on different places in the discussion, and how it looks practically is different in every church context and local congregation, et cetera, and denominations. So it's a very broad and very complex. She did a good job kind of working through a couple of the texts without going into too much detail. But it is a very broad topic, and it is biblically more complex than it seems at first glance, which is what I took away when I first read that book, Two Views on Women in Ministry. That's what I walked away with, thinking like, oh my goodness, this is a lot more complex than I ever thought it was. So I hope that's one thing that you heard as she was talking, is that this is a biblically complex issue. It's not as simple as black and white as some other issues, as this whole conference is kind of about. And it's something to think through and to wrestle through biblically and within our cultural context. She started going down a couple of roads that made me a little nervous, but she pulled the reins up before she got too far on those. Because, talking about the different analogies for God, they are very diverse, and God is predominantly described as male, of course, with masculine pronouns throughout Scripture. But there are some, as she alluded to, there are some analogies that do invoke a more feminine aspect to God too.
Well, right, and it's important to, at least for the kids that we're raising in our church, to know that those girls are made in the image of God too. That's an important thing that I think it seems so obvious in our mind. Of course, everyone's made in the image of God, but it can really get lost in the shuffle sometimes if we forget to make that clear, because some of just how the Bible's written and some of the language in there, and then how it plays out practically in a lot of church contexts, that can get lost in the shuffle. So exactly. It's not necessarily that we need to take the word father out of the Bible for God. That, of course not. But we do need to think through what are we teaching our kids in regards to this stuff. And I think that's a good conversation too.
Absolutely. And I think what often gets lost in the conversation, even from complementarians, is to just say women and men are both created in the image of God with equal value and dignity, full stop, right? No, but, and then go on to the argument. You can just state that and just leave it. I think in a lot of cases it's helpful.
Definitely. Well, I'm excited to talk about it more, man. I thought it was really good.
Yeah, it's a big topic. I'm going to look into it more and kind of revisit it and explore it some more. So I'm looking forward to it.